And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another video game review, and today we are doing another NES game. This is Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link. Now, it's crazy to me that this game even exists, because for the longest time I always thought that there was just the one Legend of Zelda on NES, the one that everybody loves and everybody raves about and everybody talks about. But then, I started seeing, another gold cartridge, and then it's, a second Zelda. And I'm thinking, well, this has to be good, right? Now, this game has gotten a very mixed bag of reviews over its years in existence. I believe it came out in 1989. So a couple years after the original Legend of Zelda game. And they tried a lot of new stuff, some stuff that has not come back, and under the current management of Nintendo looks like will never come back. And for good reason, and for not so good reason. But I got a lot of thoughts on this game, so let's jump right into it, shall we? Yeah, so the big difference with this game versus the first Legend of Zelda, and really every other Legend of Zelda after it, all the way up now to Tears of the Kingdom, is that it's a side-scroller. It's the only Zelda side-scroller that has ever been made. And it definitely makes sense because the Mario games are side-scrollers, obviously. And they do really well on the NES. So, trying to maybe get Zelda to go in that same direction was a respectable route to go. And it just feels, though, really weird. Because I've played a lot of Zelda games at this point. The original, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild. All you think of. There's a lot. So, it just felt weird to see Zelda with the side-scroller, and it's not even like what you would think of as side-scroller. It's not like the Mega Mans or the Marios or even like the old, a bunch of the other knockoff side-scrolling games. You don't, you have lives, but they're different, and you're not just trying to get from one point to the other and do a bunch of things. You're supposed to find things, talk to people, collect things. So that, in that respect, is still along the lines of what you do in any Zelda game, really. I don't know, it just doesn't... I can't say it really doesn't blend well, because, again, it's my first time playing this. I'm sure it blended together a little bit better back when people played it originally, because they only had the first Zelda to go off of. But I've had many more, so that's probably why. It just feels weird, doesn't really mix together. But, a lot of the other stuff, like I said, you're just going around and exploring and doing all this sort of stuff like you do in any Zelda game. So, all the levels just have a lot of differences to each other as well. There's quite a few of them in the game, to be honest, and there's a lot of stuff you got to do in between. But I guess, the levels are fine, though. I think they're designed pretty well. You can go multiple different directions to get to the end of them. A lot of them are shorter, and you got to go and find items to do, and kind of like what you do with Zelda games. The thing that really annoyed me, though, is that you can't go even 5 feet without running into an enemy, and then you get teleported into a level where you have to fight stuff and then get through it to progress in the over part of the game, where you're in the top-down view, like we know old Zelda is known for. It's like the hub between all the levels, and that got annoying really, really quickly, because they pop out of nowhere and you don't have a lot of time to react, and it can get very, very old very quickly, and can just really slow down your progress in the game. And on that respect, the open part really does feel like Pokemon. Just roaming around in the top-down view landscape, and then things just pop out of the grass, and then you gotta fight them, and it kind of feels like Pokemon along that lines, to be honest. And then let's talk about the townspeople, because you go into like these sort of towns, and that's where you can like learn things and like connect stuff. So you go into like the palaces of the dungeons, and you get the item, and you fight the enemy and whatnot. Let's talk about these townspeople because they are unhelpful as hell. In particular, there is one townsperson that literally you walk up to it and talk to it, and all it says is, "I am error." Seriously? I am error? What is that? Like, how is that even gonna help you? Like, I don't even think I don't have the manual, but I don't even think the manual would help in any of that instance. It's just, why? I am error. And that there's more instances, but I am error is the most popular, or the most well known, and also the most extreme one. It's just really stupid. One thing I will give credit to this game, though, I thought the battle mechanics and like stuff like that were some of the better ones that I've played in a Zelda game. Obviously, I thought Breath of the Wild, I still haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, so I say Breath of the Wild is still my favorite, and I definitely think when the game went 3D, it got a lot better. But compared to the first game, and even compared to some of the 3D ones, I thought this was really, really good. It's simple, but still a lot of cool tricks and things that you can pull off, and it makes for some effective fun. It just does get repetitive, especially later on in the game when the enemies have a fuck ton of health, and they can hit you from point blank range and anything, and you have to try and jump over stuff, but you're in the too tight of corridors to make the jump. That's where it can get confusing, for sure, so... Speaking of the difficulty, the game loves to just throw heavy difficulty at you pretty much right after the beginning of the game. And I debated, and this is one of the harder Zelda games, a lot of people say, I debated putting a couple of the levels on the hardest video game levels list. I decided not to. However, one of them might get an honorable mention. I'm still debating that. We'll see when that list eventually does come out, which could be a while still. But I mean, there's just a lot, like, especially in the ones when you have some of the levels where you hit an enemy and then you got to go through the level thing, right? Like, there's just stuff flying all over the place, and there's enemies running at you, and then you got the ones that throw shit at you. That's super stupid. And then you got like the bosses. They can be super fucking difficult, especially near the end of the game. And the platforming is not the greatest, and you don't jump very far, so you get hit by something and get knocked all the way back, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you fall in the lava and you die, and it can just be egregious. There's some very egregious points in this game, through in and through out, to have to deal with. There's also a lot of glitches you can pull off in this game. I tried it a little bit, but not as much as some other people have. But this game is also pretty notorious for that as well. So, but that is pretty much all I have to say about the game. Overall, there's a reason why I think they haven't done another 2D another side-scrolling Zelda game, because the formula for the more open world, top-down, and eventually 3D worked better, especially once they got to Ocarina of Time. I think that was pretty much the be-all, end-all. And Miyamoto and a lot of other people at Nintendo have said like they're never going to do side-scrollers again because they'll hate it. So it could be a very long time if we ever even get that proposal thrown out for another one. And a lot of people like the games. A lot of people want to see it redone because I definitely think they kind of cheaped out on some of the 2D parts, especially with the Mario games. I think Mario 2 and first two Marios were out. I know Mario 3 I don't think was at that point, but the first two were. You couldn't have taken some elements of those when going over, like they did, but not as much as I thought they could. And maybe that would have helped make it work a little better, but that's just my opinion. Everybody's is different. So, for my final score, though, of Zelda 2 Adventures of Link, I'm going to have to give this one I'll give it a 6. It wasn't the most hated Zelda game I've ever played. One of the harder ones, but not like my most hated. I definitely did not enjoy it as much as maybe some other people do, but I don't know. My feelings are kind of like a lot of other people's. Mixed bag. Some good things, some not so good things. And that's where we'll leave that off. So, if you've ever played Zelda 2 Adventures of Link, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for this game review and for this video. So stay tuned for much more amazing content, including more game reviews and other awesome stuff. This is probably going to be the last Zelda game I do for a while because I don't have any more on the backlog. But we'll see. There's like a million of Zelda games out there, so I'm bound to find another one at some point. And so until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.